Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Wilson. I'm the Executive Director of Uptown United in Uptown Chamber of Commerce. And I am excited to dive into today's topic, which is Storefront Ready. So, some strategies and tips for getting your business off the ground. Before we get started, and I tell you a little bit about our organizations, I would love for you in the chat to share where you're coming from in the city of Chicago and your business type. And I believe BACP is letting folks know that you can also drop your questions into the chat. I will do my best to monitor the questions as we go along. Ideally, I will hold enough time at the end to get through all the chats and take questions as we are going. All right, so let's get started. Just a little bit of background. So Uptown United is a 501c3 nonprofit economic development organization located on the north side of the city, serving the Uptown community area. We work in partnership with our partner organization, the Uptown Chamber of Commerce, which is a 501c6 membership-based organization. We are over 100 years old here at the Chamber, one of the oldest and longest serving chambers of commerce here in the city. And we work together in order to build a strong and unified business environment to facilitate economic development and strengthen community here in Uptown. We are serving the community area from Irving Park on the south to Foster on the north, roughly the railroad, Ravenswood, all the way over to the lakefront. So a large service area in partnership with the Uptown United, Uptown Chamber. Uptown United is what is called a service provider for special service area number 34. Now, this is an important little designation that I think can come into play later on. It is a special taxing district within the city of Chicago where property owners can agree to tax themselves a little bit more in order to get services that go above and beyond what the city provides. I'm going to go into a little bit of how that could potentially be beneficial to you if you are looking for a storefront, and giving you some examples here in Uptown on how we leverage our SSA to help folks get storefront ready. All right. Thank you, everybody, for starting to chime in. I see some jewelry. I see some West Loop folks. Fantastic. Please keep putting them in. This is really going to be helpful to me as I tailor some of the visualizations that I will do and demonstrations I will do later on in this presentation. Okay, so today's agenda, we are going to do a sequential effort, if you will. We will talk through how you plan for considering going into a storefront, all of the steps you need to do to sort of analyze getting ready to go into a storefront. This is where people come to us the most, is help me find it. I'm looking for that special and ideal location. So we'll talk through how you go about finding that location. We'll also go through everything you need to do to prepare for it, and then the avoid it, the pitfalls to keep in mind as you are starting to navigate the process of getting storefront ready. All right, wonderful. Thank you all. Continue, please, chiming in. I'll note I see some suburban folks in here, and just note that a lot of this information is applicable to you, except when it comes down to zoning, and I will get into that when we get there. Okay, so plan for it. Also, I would ask, please add into the chat how long you have been in business. I say that because it is really important as you think about a storefront to develop your business plan. For many folks that come to our office here, they have either just come up with their business idea and think that they're ready to go into a storefront. They have been working out of their home and think that they're ready to go into a storefront, or they're an existing business and they are in a storefront already looking to expand. It is really important for you to reassess your business plan along the way. This is one of the key things that any business owner should be doing, especially if you're considering growth in the future, is to make sure that you have identified within your business plan what your goals are and how you're going to achieve those goals. In our current climate, with tariffs and all the different things that are kind of going on, what you may have planned for last year 2 years ago, however many years ago that you established your business plan could be changed. So it's really important that you update your business plan along the way to make sure, one, it is reflective of your current needs and where and what the demands are going to be for you in the future. So it's also really important to ask critical questions of your operations. And this sort of gets into the heart of the matter, which can you financially afford a storefront? You have to be very thoughtful and diligent when going through not only your business plans, but your financial projections to understand, can I financially afford over the next 1 to 5 years to enter into a commercial lease agreement for a storefront? You need to look at what your projections are over your revenue. You need to do that due diligence on what the costs are associated with renting a storefront. For example, a few things that you need to consider are, what would your monthly rent payment be? What all is included in your rent payment? What is not included in your rent payment, such as utilities? Are property taxes included in your rent payment? Or is that something that you're going to have to pay in addition to your rent? Likewise, some people forget to budget in contingencies for repairs, things that may come up along the way. But you also need to do the hard scrubbing of your numbers to know what sales you're going to need to reach in order to sustain all of the expenses associated with a commercial rent. So you really need to dive deep into your operations to understand, where are there potential efficiencies that you need to create? Where do you need to invest more dollars in your operations in order to sustain and or grow your sales to the point where you can actually financially afford to enter into a storefront? These are really critical questions that, it's very difficult when you are a solo entrepreneur to do this, but this is where it is, having a team in place is going to be beneficial. I want to just step back for a second. And for those that are not familiar with SCORE or even the City of Chicago's BACP Business Plan Resources page, they have fantastic free information out there. Some folks come to our office extremely overwhelmed at the idea of writing a business plan or doing financial projections or anything around business documentation. And I'm here to tell you that there are free resources out there. The only cost to you is your time and energy that goes into putting everything down on paper. But it is an investment that you should be making in yourself in order to better understand your finances and your business plans of operations. So I wanted just to quickly show you here that on the City of Chicago's website, they do have free resources available, and SCORE is a fantastic provider of free templates. Highly recommend you take a look at SCORE if you haven't already done so, but I believe most of you in this webinar are likely familiar with it, but if you're not, please check out SCORE. Okay, so you have your business plan, you're starting to put together your financial projections over the next year, 2 years, and you're seeing based off of what's penciling out that you probably could afford to go into a storefront. Well, here's where the rubber meets the road. Um, Are you new and innovative? Are there others that have similar products to you or services to you that may likely be true? You just may be venturing into new waters. So as you think about where you want to go, you should be considering where your competitors are located. Right now, folks are very strapped on how and where they're spending their dollars. They're being very intentional about that. So what you need to do is do a quick Google search, even go into Google Maps and type in whatever your business model is. Let's just say, vegan bakery. Let's just kind of throw that out there for a second. Type that in and sort of identify where all of your competitors are located. That's going to be really important as you drill down where you're hoping to locate. If there are too many businesses concentrated in a single location, it's going to be a little bit more challenging for you as a business to you know, compete for their scale or for their sales. That also leads into who's your target customer? Are you online based right now and seeing a trend within your sales data that there are folks located within a certain zip code? Are there trends from your current location where you're seeing sales coming from a larger distance and you need more space, so you want to be more centrally located? It's really important for you to take a look at where your target market is, where your customer is coming from, or where do you want to target? That's equally important as well, as especially as you think about scaling up your business. Who is that demographic that you're looking to hit in terms of your target customer base? And really think about what's differentiating you from your competitors. What is driving customers to your business? One thing that we often talk to businesses that come into our office about is your digital presence and making sure that you are fully fleshed out and available to folks so that they know where you are, but you're also identifying what you offer. And in seeing that, you are able then to different, you can see where there's differences between you and your competitors. Maybe that vegan bakery that you want to, open an actual storefront for is potentially located a few blocks away from, let's just say, a regular bakery who offers all the offerings, including vegan. What differentiates your vegan product from the bakery that has all different types of baked goods plus vegan? Really being able to sell that information within your marketing, within your online presence, is really going to be important in order to drive folks to your business, especially if there is a concentration of folks around you. One of the most frequently asked questions that I get in this office is, what space is available? One of the benefits of our organization is that we have a software system that commercial real estate brokers will utilize in order to market property uh, to fellow brokers. And this is invaluable information. It is extremely costly, but it is worth it in the sense of we have a good sense of what is actually on the market or what may appear to be vacant and on the market, but actually isn't on the market. And so let's just go back for a second as you start to think about where you want to be. Let's pick a neighborhood. Let's just pick here in Uptown, right? And you've identified that you want to be somewhere along our main commercial corridor on Broadway, but you want to be close to a red line station. Okay, so you start narrowing it down that you've got this area, and you've done the analysis and you have seen that you are online right now, and a lot of your customers are coming from the 60640 zip code. Okay, well, that's helpful to know that 60640 actually encompasses the exact corridor that you're looking for. Great. So now you've sort of started to narrow down where folks are coming from in terms of your customers, and you know that you want to have fantastic visibility from the street, right? Like you're this online product. Let's just say you're selling online vegan product, bakery products online. Um, all this is a caveat that I don't know that you could legally do that, but say this is what you want to do. But you know that in order to increase your sales in a storefront, you need to have visibility from the street. Okay, so now that starts to narrow down where you want to go. You know that you don't want to be on the second floor of somewhere. You want to be along the street. You want good windows. You want to be, let's just say, near the train station, but also bus stops, right? Because this is a very dense neighborhood and you want people to be able to easily access you. Okay, where do you start? One of the things I tell people are reach out to your local chamber of commerce or to your Chicago Business Center, which is one of the offerings that we have here in Uptown. We're one of 8 Chicago Business Centers partnered in partnership with BACP, and we can help identify those properties for you. Nothing beats on the ground field work. Like I said, we have software system where we could pull those reports, if you will, of what's available, all the details of that listing, such as the cost of the rent, what's included in the rent, are utilities included? Are property taxes included? Does it need work on the inside? Is the property owner willing to pay for some of that work? We can do all that kind of with the software, but a lot of organizations like ours have built relationships with the property owners and or the commercial brokers. So we have a really good sense of where things stand in the market. So please reach out to us before you start venturing out on your own, because we can help identify some of those locations. In turn, I think it's really important, and I don't have it noted on here. Go out and check out your neighborhood. If you recall, as you were doing your analysis of where your sales are coming from in the target market or customer that you want to reach, and you've sort of narrowed down a location, go walk it, go drive it, really go at different times of the day, different days of the week. Folks may have an idea of what a customer base is going to be or what a location is going to look like based off of what they may see online or what they may have heard. But the reality is that traffic patterns vary during times of day, during days of the week, during the times of the year. Pedestrian foot traffic varies in the same way that vehicular traffic or even transit traffic varies. It is really important for you to carve out the time and go explore where you want to be. Look at the feel of it. How do other businesses look and feel? Does it have the foot traffic that you're looking for? Go do that field work. Nothing beats field work. We can pull all the information that we want from online, but nothing beats taking the time to actually go walk it, go drive it, go sit there for, 15, 20 minutes and observe how the environment flows. That could give you a better sense of what it might look like for you as a business owner, if you were to go into that location. So definitely do that. But what I love to tell folks, and I think that this is something that our team and many of my colleagues in the economic development and chamber space will say is build your team. It is super easy to drive around and see a for rent sign in a window and just give a call to the number that is listed there. That's great. But what I will tell you is that commercial real estate is not the same as residential real estate. It is completely different than if you were to see a for rent sign in an apartment where you could just call them up and get the details of the square footage, how much the rent is, all that kind of stuff. Commercial real estate is completely different. And so it is imperative, and I cannot stress this enough, to get a commercial broker along with a real estate attorney on your team. Building your team sounds expensive. That feels like something that you could potentially do on your own to save money. And that's true. You probably could do that, but you are savvy, smart entrepreneurs and business owners. You know that making an investment in the team now can save you money in the long run by avoiding those pitfalls that are very easy to do when you don't have folks who understand the nuance, who understand the art of negotiation with commercial real estate. They understand where within a contract or a lease agreement it benefits the property owner versus the tenant. That can save you money in the long run. Go talk to your local chamber of commerce for referrals. Many of us within the chamber space have chamber members that are within the real estate industry, whether it is a commercial broker or an attorney. We could provide referrals to you. This is one of the best investments that you can make in yourself as a business owner and as an individual or a solopreneur. When you start to go look for commercial real estate, it is incredibly easy to fall down the traps of commercial lease negotiations without having those extra set of eyes on anything that you do. So please check with your chambers, get referrals, and start working with a commercial broker or a real estate attorney. That sounds very expensive, but I will tell you that many of these services are not paid upfront. They are paid out towards the end. There's often negotiations, just like if you were to buy property. There's going to be negotiations on what the fees are at the end once a transaction is completed. So this is something where you should talk to all the brokers, talk to the real estate attorneys, and figure out what those costs are going to be. Remember earlier on in the presentation, I talked about what those costs might be that you need to take into consideration when it comes to the financial feasibility of going into a commercial storefront. This is one of those things. So talk to a broker, talk to a real estate agent, test them out, see who's the best fit, and figure out what that initial investment is going to be for you over the long run. So you've done all of that. You've done your field work. You've gotten a sense of the neighborhood or into the commercial corridors that you're looking for. You have a broker on your team. You've got an attorney ready to review any sort of contracts or lease agreements that you may enter into. Before you do anything around signing a contract, double check the zoning. How many here are familiar or have heard about zoning? Zoning is this very ubiquitous word. It's sort of like up here and it's very easy to just kind of gloss over. And for those of us that work in this space, some of us love to get into the weeds of what zoning is. But at the heart of zoning, they are guidelines established by the local municipality that dictate what types of uses can go where to ensure that public health is maintained. That was the heart of zoning way back when with Euclidean zoning, is that there were conflicting uses immediately adjacent to each other, and it became, I believe, a public health issue. Don't quote me on that one. It's been a long time since I've been in planning school, but the ultimate goal is to ensure that there are not conflicting uses immediately adjacent to each other. This is critical for you as a business owner that you examine what the zoning is before you sign or even look at properties, because it's not worth your time if you find out that your particular use is not permitted within that zoning classification. I'm going to show you in a few slides ahead, in a few slides, where you here in the city of Chicago can look for the zoning to understand it. So bear with me. We will definitely get there, but just remember, double check the zoning. Okay, so you double check the zoning, you know that your use is permitted within this zoning designation. You're ready to go tour the properties. Work with the broker. You can even do this yourself by reaching out to the broker listed on that sign for rent and go tour the properties. But I highly advise that you have a broker with you when you go tour these properties, because they can ask very nuanced questions of the listing broker that can give you a little bit more information about what you might be walking into. They have the ability to examine properties with a very critical eye, and peel back some of that information that you might just not know. And there's a whole feeling of excitement that goes into touring properties. And you might have written down, oh, I need to ask this question, but then forget about it. Your broker is there to advocate for you and ask those very critical questions. So you've started touring the properties. Triple check that zoning. You're going to hear me say that a lot, and I'm seeing this come up in the chat, is that zoning, it continues to be one of those biggest challenges that people come to us. They've signed the lease and then find out later on, just kidding, you can't actually go there without doing what's called either a special use permit or a entire zoning change. So triple check the zoning before you sign anything. Okay, so you've toured the properties, you have a range to consider from. Really examine the numbers. You'll recall that I said that commercial real estate leases are completely different than residential leases. This is true in the sense of there are different types of leases that you could potentially enter into. This is where your commercial broker is going to be really handy for you in terms of breaking down what those types of leases are. For example, you might hear the term triple net lease. You might hear the term modified gross lease or gross lease. or net. They're acronyms for basically how much do you pay within your rent and what do you have to pay in addition to your rent. So for example, a triple net lease is a very, very, very common lease structure in commercial real estate. And effectively what it says is that you have the tenant, like you pay your portion, the lease, but then you, in addition to your rent, are then required to pay not only the utilities, but your portion of the property taxes and all these other different things. A gross lease on the other side is completely opposite. That means not within your rent, it includes already the cost of potentially different types of utilities or your property taxes, things of that nature. So it's really important that with your commercial broker, you differentiate and break down what the costs are depending on the type of lease. And then you build that into your projections because that could ultimately affect the feasibility of entering into a commercial storefront. What's also really important is that you should know commercial leases do not tend to run on a year-to-year renewal. They tend to run on 5-year lease obligations with potential renewal after the 5th year. So that's important when you're running your number, is that when you're doing your financial projections, build it out over 5 years. And built into there, sometimes there are rent escalations. So you have to build that into your number. It is really important that you consistently go back and check your numbers and run them based off of whatever the potential lease is, because that will ultimately affect your bottom line. I've said it before, I'll say it again. In addition to triple checking your zoning, don't sign anything until an attorney reviews it. We've had several folks over the years come to us after it's too late. They've already signed the lease, didn't realize that they were responsible for certain aspects of the property until something broke, or that their rent was going to go up by a specific percentage. And then it just got too costly for them and they didn't know what to do. Have that attorney that's on your team review everything. It will save you money in the long run by being fully aware of what those potential costs are for you. Okay, so I want to show you, we're going to pause for a second on what comes next, but I want to give you some free resources of where you can go look to identify your market data, meaning where your customers are. And this is a resource that is free to everyone. It's called Connect to Cook. It is through Cook County. And it basically is an online platform where you are able to put in your address and you are able to pull census data, market research data based off of whatever your geography is. Some tenants or businesses like to understand where their customer base is within rings. So like mileage rings around their location. Some like to know drive times. So like how many customers are within 5 miles or 5 minutes of our location, or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So what you see on this screen is the initial platform. And I have the link to the website written down here. I think that this will become available. You can just Google Connect to Cook County and this will come up. And I'll go into a demonstration later on, but I want to show you the different types of reports that you can get. I've put in our office location here just as an example, 4619 North Broadway here in Uptown. And I've decided to do 5, 10, 15-minute drive times from our exact location. And here's the range of reports that can come up. I can get a community profile, which will examine not only the total number of people that live in our neighborhood, but their age breakdown, what the median household income is, what the educational level is, what the housing density is like, meaning is it mostly single family? Is it buildings that have 3 or more units in it, 10 or more units in it? And so this will give you a really great sense of your potential customer base. So this is completely free. You can then download the reports for you to use. This is an invaluable resource that I think every entrepreneur who is considering going to a storefront should just play around with. And I'll show you how it works later on in this presentation. Okay, so for my City of Chicago folks, this is the City of Chicago zoning map. For those that are in the suburbs, please go to that municipality's website and type in zoning map or zoning code. It's going to be different from municipality to municipality. But here in the City of Chicago, they have an interactive zoning map online. And I've just done a quick screenshot and I'll do a demonstration for you in a little bit of what it looks like. I admit, it is very overwhelming. What are the different colors? What are the different lines? Like, what do I need to be looking at? And I have put, again, our business address here, 4619, and did a quick search. And you can see when it comes up, it identifies if there's a landmark district, if it's anything on the National Register of Historic Places. But it most importantly identifies your zoning district. I have outlined it here in a red circle. You see it says B3-2. Well, what does that mean? And that's a really common question. What does that designation mean? Well, in zoning, again, it varies from municipality to municipality. So this is just for the City of Chicago. The zoning is defined by the letter at the beginning of that little code. So this says B3-2. That means it's a business district zoning. The -3s and -2s basically mean the level of intensity of a type of use that is permitted there. The lower the number, the less intense of the use. In general, the zoning code will specify it in greater detail, but what's really important, so for example, my vegan bakery, am I allowed per the City of Chicago zoning code to open a, vegan bakery here in the B3-2? Well, where do you even go to look for this? BACP has you covered. They have online what is called a business zoning guide. You can Google it and it's going to come up as a PDF document. It basically does, in a nutshell, explain what zoning is, but it then breaks out by license category. And this is important because what type of business you are, you then have to get a certain license from the City of Chicago in order to operate here. You cannot get the license if you are not permitted within the zoning, or you go through those extra steps called a special use or a zoning change in order to legally operate and obtain a license within the City of Chicago. So they have this trusty PDF document that you can then download if you want, or just reference it online. And this is what it's going to look like. It's overwhelming. I will just say that. It's a huge table, but here are the key things that you need to look for. One, on the left side where it says sector, that is the overall category of your business. So for example, my vegan bakery is going to be considered retail food establishment. For those that are within the hair salon industry, you're going to be considered personal services, right? So depending on what your type of use is, you can narrow it down to this sector use. If you don't know what that is, call BACP's Small Business Center. You can describe what your use is and they could guide you in the right direction of what that appropriate license type is going to be for you. So you see colors on this table. What do the colors mean, right? Like you know what sector you're going to be in. Let's switch businesses for a second. I'm going to be a hair salon. Okay, so I know that hair salons are considered personal services. Great. So now I need to look at what the zoning is and where I'm allowed to go without having to go through extra steps to get city approval. Okay. So when you look at this table, the colored means it's permitted by right, meaning no problem. You can go to BACP and fill out an application for a license, and you are allowed within the zoning of that property to operate there. Great. Now you see orange. Sorry, that's green. Blue, you see there's only a little bit of blue on here. That means that I need to get special use permit. I need to get extra permission from the city of Chicago in order to operate my hair salon within certain zoning designations. And then orange means it's either permitted or special use, but you really have to dive into the zoning code and have BACP figure out whether or not you were allowed to be there. But how do I know where my zoning designation is? Okay, I've circled it here in the purple. You see those letters, RS, RT, RM? Those are all considered residential districts. Think your bungalows on the northwest and the south sides, those bungalow districts. Those are typically considered R districts. Now you start moving towards B. Remember, 2 slides ago, I did the zoning search for our property here at 4619, and it said B3-2. Okay, that is considered a business district zoning. You are traditionally going to see the B zoning along your main commercial corridors. Think Cottage Grove Avenue, think Cicero Avenue, think Western Avenue, Lincoln Avenue. All of your main commercial corridors are either going to have B zoning, which is business district, or C zoning, which is considered a commercial district. And then it sort of increases on, unless you're operating in the central area, the downtown of the city of Chicago, you are not really going to see the D or the D designations. That means downtown. And for those of you here on the call that are working more in the industrial manufacturing space, you want to pay particular attention to M. You only see M, which is considered manufacturing zoning within our more industrial area. So think Ravenswood Industrial Corridor down, where else is there? Down in the Stockyards area, there's like some manufacturing. Think along our main highways adjacent to it, you might have some lingering manufacturing zoning designations. So that's something to really keep in mind. So you can find all of this online. But what's really important is once you've figured out whether or not you're permitted or not, and you have to go through a special use, always triple check with BACP. Go to their small business center and touch base with them on whether or not you have interpreted this correctly. If that feels daunting to you, please go check out a Chicago business center like Uptown United's Uptown Business Center, or any of our colleagues within the economic development space. We can do a zoning check for you and do an interpretation based off of what we see on the zoning code and give you some guidance that you could then go to BACP to further confirm. Okay, so you've done all of that work. You have done your field work. You have run your financial numbers to know what you could potentially afford. You've secured your team in the sense of you have a commercial broker, you've got a real estate agent, you've toured the properties, you've triple checked the zoning, you know what you can afford. Fantastic. You are ready to sign that commercial lease for 5 years. You're ready to go. Have you prepared for any additional costs, such as the time spent doing any sort of renovations or applying for permits? Some properties are move-in ready. Some are considered raw, meaning they don't have, the flooring in place, or they don't have the walls in place. Are you prepared for that? Do you have to pay for that? Or is that something that the property owner is going to pay for you? Do you know how long permits are going to take? Have you planned that into your timeline? Part of your business plan, if you recall, way back when we started this presentation, is not just understanding what you offer, but it's what your vision is and what your time, it includes like your timeline, right? Of, what your projected growth is. But what you need to factor into that is how long it's going to take you to get into your space. Can you afford to run, let's say, continue to run online, if that's what you are, an online business? Can you afford to run online while also doing, the necessary work inside the space to get yourself up and running? You got to ask yourself those hard questions. One of the other things you need to take into consideration is that for many folks, it often takes upfront capital to handle any sort of payment of renovation work or preparation to get a storefront ready for you to open and have customers come in. Many folks will either go to friends and family for that. Some, and more commonly, will go to financial institutions. But before you can even go to a financial institution, you need to ask yourself, did you file your business's taxes? You need to ensure that all your financial reports and taxes are ready for consideration for any type of business loan, if that's the direction that you're going. You need to be up on all of those important financial documents. We often tell folks that walk in our door, a part of your team should include a banker. So you have a commercial broker, you have a real estate attorney, make sure you have a CPA or an accountant or a bookkeeper to help you run your books. But do you have a banker? You should have a banker, because at some point in time, you as a business owner may need to tap into either lines of credit for operating costs, or even just as a cushion for your operations in times of like economic crisis and whatnot. But every bank, financial institution is different. You've got the really large institutions that we all know, but you also have neighborhood banks as well. And each have different product offerings, each have different approaches to how they approve business loans. Shop around. Go talk to your neighborhood bank and build relationships with them and figure out, it's sort of like dating. You got to figure out who's going to be the right fit for you for the long term, because, bankers are going to ask you the tough questions. They're going to want to know all of your taxes. They need to review all of your taxes over previous years and your financial projections and your business plans, because they need to know that you're good for it, that if they issue a loan, you can afford to pay it back. So you want to make sure that you have a really positive relationship with whomever your banker is. So please do so. If you don't know who your banks are, stop into your local chamber of commerce. Chances are they have chamber members who are financial institutions, and they can provide you some clear information or guidance on where each bank sort of lies and who you should go talk to specifically, so that you can start building the rest of that team. So you've now done all of that. You are ready to get into that storefront. Fantastic. You've got your commercial lease signed. You've got your banker on board, your commercial broker on board, your real estate attorney on board. You've got your plans in place. Everything is moving in the right direction. There are still pitfalls along the way. So I want to step back for a second and highlight some of those pitfalls, because it never goes as smoothly as you hope it does. One of the downsides of my job, or frankly, any of my colleagues that work in economic development or business support, is that sometimes we're the Debbie Downer. We need to let you in, pull the veil back a little bit, and let you know the tough stuff so that you can try to avoid it later on. And it may not be what you want to hear, but like the rest of your team, we're letting you in on this information so that you can prepare for it and avoid the challenges and potential financial costs later on. I mentioned it earlier on in this presentation, commercial leases are not residential leases. That is a common misconception within businesses coming into our office. They do not operate in the same way whatsoever. Folks are pretty familiar with how residential leases work. You typically are 1 year, maybe a 2 year or an 18-month lease. and you have options to renew potentially. Sometimes there will be things included within your rent. That's pretty common as well. Sometimes you're on the hook. You are responsible for additional things like utilities, stuff like that. Commercial is not that. There are so many different types of lease options out there. It is really imperative you have that commercial broker on your team break that down for you of what each lease type is. And also for you planning for 5 years. That is a commonplace minimum amount of time that for commercial storefronts, the leases stipulate it's for 5 years. Go back to the beginning when I talked about reassessing your business plan and really diving deep into your financials. You need to have contingencies and game it out over 5 years for being in a commercial storefront because it's not the same as residential. So you got to switch that mindset. When you start looking for commercial storefront, you got to remember it is not residential leases. One hold or hang up that we commonly get is that things move too slow. Well, that is very true. Things do move pretty slow, whether it's scheduling, sometimes it's tricky to get scheduling in place. You've got your lease negotiations in place, fantastic. Your lease is signed and now you need permits. Things are going to take a lot longer. But where people don't realize is that you can help expedite things as best you possibly can by providing complete information. That even is applicable to your banking partner. Give them complete information. Make sure it is accurate. Make sure you're not missing anything because they're just going to have to come back to you and ask for that information. And then it just kind of slows everything down. So make sure you dot all your I's, cross all your T's. You have everything stapled, ready to go, and it's triple checked in order to keep things moving along. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but don't sign anything without an attorney reviewing. If I could tattoo that on my forehead, I would do that, or put out billboards of like, don't sign anything until you have an attorney review it. It is one of the best things that you can do in terms of an investment for your business is to have an attorney review your lease. Leads into number 4, which is build the team to support you. You are not in this alone. You do not have to shoulder the whole process on your own. I myself am terrible at asking for help, but one of the most common challenges that we see small business owners coming through our door is feeling overwhelmed and or defeated because they can't get in touch with someone like a broker, or they can't get in touch with somebody on the status of their permits or whatever it may be. Build that team. It is an investment in your sanity. It is an investment in the longevity of your business. Overall, it is a sound investment in like just building a team. Go talk to your chambers of commerce or your neighborhood business development centers, like here in Uptown, and we can let you know who all that is. That could be your banker, that could be broker, that could be your real estate attorney, a bookkeeper, like wherever you're able to invest and offload some of those responsibilities or have the triple check of the responsibilities, it is worth your investment. So please build a team around you. It sounds expensive, but in the long run, you're going to save yourself money because you're avoiding those pitfalls by having extra sets of eyes and guiding you along the way. Another Debbie Downer moment for us here in our office is letting folks know everything takes longer than you want. Folks come to us wanting to be in a storefront in 2 months. The reality is nothing ever moves that fast. Rarely can you get into a storefront that quickly unless it is, everybody is working and it is the top priority and they're able to check all the boxes, do all the reviews in a rapid and complete and accurate fashion. And the space doesn't need any work. Maybe it is move-in ready and you could do that. I mean, a couple months really is an unrealistic timeline to move into a storefront. We are in conversations with businesses all the time around finding that right spot for them. And sometimes it can take 9 months or more. depending on where they're looking, depending on where, they, where in the condition of the property is. Things just take a lot longer. So plan for it to take longer. That way, you know how much that is going to cost you in the long run. We've had people say, "Oh my gosh, this space is amazing and I'm ready to go." And we're like, triple check everything. Sometimes if the deal seems too good to be true, then it might just be too good to be true. Or maybe it really is that good of a deal. You should just really scrutinize it so that you know what you're on the hook for, so that you know who's responsible for what, you know all the costs, you know everything about it. As best you possibly can, because your team that you've built is helping you do all that review. Scrutinize everything. Ask questions. There's no wrong question to ask. It is better that you know all the information upfront than be surprised later on. So you've heard me reference Chicago business centers. Uptown United through our Uptown Business Center is one of them. On the slide, it identifies the other Chicago business centers around the city. There are 8 of us across the city. So please find who is right for you. And all the contact information is available here, but you can also go on BACP's website and you're going to find it there. So hopefully that was helpful, but what I would like to do is do a quick demonstration for you of some of those free tools that I talked to you about earlier on, just so that you have a little bit more awareness of what to expect when you go into them. So I'm going to switch screens for a second. And hopefully everyone here can see what is called Connect to Cook. This is what it is. It's literally just, there's some like map.cookcountyillinois.gov/Connect to Cook. Just Google Connect to Cook and this will come up. This is what it looks like. You're going to want to say new things and then get started. Reminder, this is the free online platform where you can dive into demographic data around your potential customer base. So you're going to get started. It's going to look like this. It's a basic online platform. And what you're going to do over here is where it says enter an address or location. This is available for even our friends in the suburbs. I thought I saw someone out here in the chat saying that they are from Naperville. You can try that as well. I think that this is going to work. So, and if not, check your county to see if they have something similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in our office location here and make sure you specify the municipality so that it comes up and it's going to do a bloop. It's going to go right to this. Okay. So I am what kind of business am I? Let's go back to that vegan bakery concept, right? Like I'm just vegan. And I want to know drive times. I want to know what my customer base is within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes. So what you do is you go back and you can select either rings, which are what you can think of like rings, or bands, which are just the like rings, but the information within the difference between the different geographies. But I want to do drive times. So let's do drive times. So I'm going to select drive times. You can change to whatever you want. It could be 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute. You play around with this. That is the beauty of this. This is all free information for you to sort of figure out where your ideal customer base might be. So I want to know 5, 10, 15 minutes. Great. I'm going to hit apply. It's going to think, boom. It now provides me a map showing the 5, 10, 15 minutes from our specific location. See, you can then highlight it here. Amazing, right? What I don't know is if this factors in traffic, but we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it does not. Okay. So what you're going to want to do after you figure out what your geography is, you're going to go to reports. Go to standard reports and look at all of the census information that I can get. I can get the 2020 census information. I can even go all the way back to 2010 if I want. I can do a business summary. So it can identify the businesses or the business types within these radius. This is important when you think about who your competitors are. Nothing beats field work. Do your field work. Do not rely solely upon the online sources to be the end all be all of your information. Go out and physically verify it yourself so that you have 100% accuracy. But this is a good starting point. Utilize this. I can do demographic and income profile, but let's just choose a community profile. So just general information. You can choose how you want it. Do you want it as an Excel file? Do you want it as a PDF? So you just do that. I'm going to run it as a PDF. You hit run now. It's thinking, thinking, thinking. Still thinking, great, it's now done. And then you open it, and then you can save it and get all of that information. If you want to see what the report looks like before you run it, just hit this little button over here, and it's going to pull up an example for you. Okay. So this is going to give you, going all the way back to 2000, what the population was within those specific segments, right? So within this is an example of 135 mile. Like it shows you what that income profile is. It will show you residential values. It'll show you the age breakdown. Is your product something that's geared, younger audience? You can now see where and how much of that age demographic is within those radius. This is all very important as you build out your customer profile, your target market, so then you can then narrow down where you want to be. Okay, here's another one. You remember I talked about zoning. So just do City of Chicago zoning and land use map, or just zoning map, and it's going to come to this website. You accept the terms. Again, all free. You don't need to stop into any office to access this information. Now, should you triple check this with BACP? Yes. But you can at least get yourself started. This is very, very overwhelming, as you can see. But all you need to know is right up here on the top left, search by address or PIN, which is called property identification number. That's what is used to help assess the size of your property along with property taxes, etc. Pick an address. So let's just do our office again, 4619 North Broadway. Again, this is just the city of Chicago. Okay. So if you are in a neighboring municipality, please check with that municipality on what their zoning map access looks like for you. Okay. So I put in our address, and this again is what it's going to look like. You're going to see there's a lot of different layers on this. There's a lot of different hashtags, lines, colors, all of that information can be delineated over here on the right-hand side, what the different zoning codes are. But when you click on the little drop pin, that's what's important. You search, click on the drop pin, and this is where you're going to get the very specific zoning code designation. You want to know that before you ever tour a property to make sure that you know that your business type is allowed within that zoning code. Okay. Again, free, it's online. Also, you'll recall I said we're a SSA provider, special service area provider. That information is going to show up here too whenever you search for a property. Let's just do a random, I don't know, 6100 North Broadway. Let's go farther up. I'm just picking a random address to see what comes up. Okay, great. So here's another one. It shows you what the information is. You click on the pin and it's going to update it. It tells you, look, you're in the Edgewater SSA and you're what's in called a TIF district, which means that there may be additional funding available for you around what's called Small Business Improvement Fund. What's important about SSAs, and I don't have this on a slide, but this is where you should be reaching out to your local chambers of commerce, is that SSAs, you see right here, SSA number 26 may have rebate programs around storefronts. This is really important for you to know. If you find a location and you secure a location within an SSA, check with that service provider to see if they any offer rebates or like a reimbursement back for work that you do around your storefront. Some SSAs like ours here in Uptown, we offer rebates for new signage. We offer rebates for security cameras. We offer rebates for what's called curb appeal. That could be new windows and things of that nature. So please check with your local special service area if that's where you find a location to see if they have any sort of rebates that can help offset that cost of going into a storefront. Okay. So you will find that information here on the City of Chicago zoning map. It's a little old looking, but it has incredible information. The other site I wanted to show you is that business zoning code. Just Google City of Chicago Business Zoning Guide, these words. And the first thing you're going to see on Google, I think if I click back, you'll actually see it. City of Chicago. Oh, look, I've typed it so many times it comes up. It's literally going to be the first thing you find when you search. Just click on it, and this is what is going to come up. It breaks down for you in a really easy format what zoning is and what you need to know. Nothing beats one, having the broker and the real estate attorney do checks for you. You talking with organizations like us here in Uptown on what that, like reconfirming the zoning. But as soon as like you think you're ready, double check with BACP Small Business Center. They are there for you. So double check everything to make sure that you are going in the right direction to legally and correctly get the appropriate business license. And you cannot get a business license if your business is not approved within the zoning, if it's not allowed within the zoning. So this trusty guide is going to be your friend as you work through this, okay? So just Google it. I showed you, it is literally the first thing that will come up. It is free. You can print it out and call BACP in the event that you have questions around your particular use. So I want to make sure that I am leaving time for any questions. I am going to stop sharing actually we'll just go and share my contact information for you all so that you have it. Let's see, actually, let me just stop sharing and I will pull that back up again. So I'm available. I'm going to go through the chat quickly to see if I have missed anything. BACP, please let me know if you've seen anything either. Hopefully you all have found this informative. Your key takeaways are build your team, build your team, build your team, triple check your zoning, and make sure you financially plan for 5-year leases, because that is one of the key differences with residential is that they are traditionally 5-year leases and not 1-year renewals. All right. I see someone had, this must have been when I was talking about personal services and salons. Salons notoriously are one of the most difficult and businesses to get operating because you have to be within a specific zoning code in order to zoning designation in order to just get that license right away. And if you're not, you have to go through what's a special use process, and that can be a very costly and time consuming process. Although the city has made strides to reduce how long it takes to get a special use. But this is where, if you are in the personal services category, please, please, please double check that business zoning guide before you ever look at a location, because that is where you can get really hung up, is if you see a spot, you don't check the zoning, you sign the lease, and then you go to get your business license, BACP is going to do that check of the zoning for that business license at that particular address. And if it shows that your use is not permitted there, but you sign the lease, you're going to have to figure out how to get through the special use process or rely on partners like us and your real estate attorney to help guide you through that process. Very much appreciate the thanks, but I'm also here to answer questions. If you have any questions, please, feel free to just chime right in. I'm going to throw my information in the chat for those that would like to reach out. I specifically serve the Uptown area. Reminder that community area, that is Irving Park on the south, Foster on the north, Ravenswood Rail approximately on the west, all the way to the lakefront. And please check out BACP's website for what are called neighborhood business development centers. These are organizations that are partnered with the city of Chicago to provide free resources and services to you all. And that could include making those connections to the commercial broker, the attorney, etc. So let me drop my information in the chat. And I see a question come in. When building a team, who do you recommend to partner with first? The commercial broker, the real estate attorney, the accountant, the banker? Daniel, this is a fantastic question. I wish I could say it is one or the other. You sort of need to do it simultaneously, but there is a little bit of a hierarchy, I would say. So first and foremost, as you build out your business, make sure you do have an accountant on board. You are going to have to file your taxes. You can't have a conversation with a banker unless like you've filed your business taxes. So make sure you have an accountant lined up. So maybe start there. But you can also work simultaneously along with a commercial broker. That is going to be a fantastic resource. Brokers don't typically get paid until a deal is done, much the same way, like if you're working with a leasing agent, finding residential property. So you can always talk to a broker, figure out who that right fit is going to be for you. But I guess if I had to prioritize the team, start with an accountant because you cannot get any sort of lending until like your taxes are filed. And the accountant will make sure, especially if you have an accountant that also does your bookkeeping and things of that nature, you have a real good sense of what your numbers are. That will definitely help you build out your financial projections to know what you can actually afford for commercial rent. So hopefully that is helpful to you. Do you need an accountant slash business taxes if the business is a startup? This is a question you're going to need to ask a banker if you're looking for any sort of commercial lending, if that's the question. Even just having a free consultation with an accountant or a bookkeeper is going to be helpful. Reach out to your local chamber of commerce. They can connect you with folks. Many often do free initial consultations to assess what your needs are and can help answer that question. But in the long run, if you are going to seek any sort of financial assistance, you're going to need to have some level of taxes filed or your financials at the ready so that it can be what's called underwritten by a financial institution. And that includes startups. Startups are a little trickier. So please reach out to a banker and or accountant to figure out what all is needed if you are indeed going to pursue any sort of financial lending. Hopefully, Allison, that answers your question. BCP, there was a question if this was being recorded. Are you able to answer that?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. If there are no other questions, I will turn it over to BACP, but I thank you all for your time. This is a really good first step for all of you that are considering going into a storefront. As BACP said, this is going to be recorded. Please refer back to it or always reach out to your local chamber of commerce, your local economic development organization. Many of us have navigated this process before to a degree. Please lean on your neighborhood partners to help guide you through the process. And if I close out with anything, do not sign a lease without an attorney reviewing it. Always have an attorney. All right, BACP, I don't see any other questions, although I think there are two in the Q&A, which I think are around how folks can find the recording once it is available.
Today's webinar will be recorded. It will be available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. If you are a part of the Entrepreneur Certificate Program, your account will automatically be credited for your attendance within 24 hours. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit chicago.gov BACP webinar. Thank you to Sarah, our presenter for today. It looks like everyone got the information they was looking for, and everyone have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.